This is our presentation on Amazon and Kindle Fire. My name is Dejor Fisher.
Hello, my name is Matt Bavacqua.
My name is Kenneth Carter.
My name is Matthew Morgan.
And we are team number 1.
Here's a table of contents. First, we have a brief case introduction. Second, vision, mission, and history. 3, industry analysis. 4, internal analysis. 5, assessment of company business level strategies. 6, assessment of company corporate level strategies. 7, identification of strategic challenge. And 8, conclusion and recommendations. Amazon in 2007 first introduced the Kindle e-reader for $359. Apple has been their biggest competitor within the tech and tablet industry, and Amazon has been trying to keep up with the latest technology and at some points even setting the bar. History of Amazon. Amazon was launched in 1995 for the sale of books online. Amazon secures one-click patent in 1999. Amazon starts selling clothes in 2002. This is where they started to diversify into other different products. Amazon offers web hosting business in 2003. Amazon enters Chinese market in 2004. This is where they started to go global. Amazon Prime debuts 2005. Amazon Kindle comes out for sale in 2007. And then Amazon requires audiobook company Audible in 2008. Kindle Fire was released November 14th, 2011. Amazon's vision statement is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find out and discover anything they might want to buy online. Some of the values that Amazon has is customer obsession, ownership, invent and simplify, create the most simple technology so it's easier for their customers to use. Learn and be curious, hire the best people they can, have the highest standards, think big, bias for action, earn trust, and deliver results. Amazon's mission statement is we strive to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection, and the utmost convenience. Amazon is one of the world's leaders in e-commerce world, and customers can essentially buy anything from Amazon online. Amazon Prime service is one of a kind.
After doing the pest analysis, we concluded 6 results. First being that economic is a problem. Amazon is in the process of finding a new location currently, which causes economic issues for the people around the area that it plans to build this new location. Second, we put demographics. Demographics is because the decrease in tablet ownership, which in turn makes it difficult for Amazon to make a profit. The more Gen Xers and baby boomers adopt new technology, the more profitable a product like Amazon Kindle Fire would be. Then we put psychographics. Amazon has always launched its new tablets at a reasonable price compared to competitors. If they're able to keep up the quality of their products as well as the price, they will be able to compete with competitors like Apple and Samsung, so long as those competitors don't adapt to pricing methods as Amazon. Adapting to the market and customers is important now more than ever, and people are in need of tablets, and the rise in tablet ownership will only rise. We then looked at the environmental distance learning and how tablets are being looked at more so as a source of technology to use for business and individual use. Since the pandemic, companies have sold out of tablets and laptops for students across the world who are required to do Zoom sessions for the next however long the pandemic may go on. Many people will see a switch in traditional education even after the pandemic ends, and the question of whether or not Zoom is still going to be at large. Companies who are able to create affordable, reliable, and secure devices will thrive in the coming months to years. We then looked at political and legal. Although this is at the bottom of our ranking, we felt as if it was always important to watch out for political and legal factors which can seriously affect a company in a matter of time. One big one is antitrust, considering antitrust affects many major companies. It's affecting Amazon's expansion and could be a problem or a strategy to look at in the future. Technological, we decided to throw this in because this was, we always found it to be important when discussing emerging trends and staying up to date with the newest products. Good thing Amazon is doing well, and other factors could harm the tablet industry, but So far, it's been growing at a consistent rate. For our industry analysis, we ranked our rivals and substitutes 1 to 8. Apple was our first rival. They have proven to have a high expected growth rate, and their brand recognition is well recognized across the globe. Our second rival was Samsung. Samsung has been ahead of their development and in many countries is more widely used than Apple products. Although they are leading the market in many ways, Amazon can easily find ways to match with Samsung as a competitor. For a substitute, we chose smartphones. Mobile devices have a huge play in consumer technology. Individuals across the globe are finding it easier to have on the go access to social groups and what it means to stay connected. For another substitute, we chose TV and newspapers. TV and newspapers are both popular global pastimes. While traditional television and newspapers may be on the decline, they still have a massive market share for entertainment in developed nations. The same demographic who may purchase a Kindle is likely to also use a television or subscribe to a newspaper. For a rival, we chose Lenovo tablets. Lenovo tablets have been staying up to date with delivering new products to their consumers, providing folding tablets, laptops, to longer battery lasting times. Lenovo isn't far behind from adopting a more significant brand presence in America. Lenovo resembles closely to Samsung tablets and is priced a bit cheaper than the iPad, which makes them something to keep in mind. Google tablets was another rival. Google tablets are not used as much as Apple's iPads and other companies like Samsung and Lenovo. Google is fairly new in the market, so they must keep adapting to new market changes. Technological changes are happening rapidly, and they need to try to keep up with companies like Amazon, Apple, and Samsung. For another substitute, we chose Barnes& and Nobles. Barnes& and Nobles has developed ways to compete with Amazon in a different but similar way. Their love for paper books has kept them thriving for those who still love the feeling of purchasing books from a store. Since Barnes& and Nobles came out with the Nook, which allows for e-reading, it has since evaluated their push on reading anywhere and on the go, and has since expanded their book inventory. A tablet like Amazon Kindle Fire isn't seen as a simple device only used for reading, but yet a device that satisfies their entertainment and educational needs. For our last substitutes, we chose audiobooks. Audiobooks are still a good market, but are not quite a threat in the same market as tablets. Audiobooks are strictly for listening to authors, reading a book, or maybe listen to a podcast. But a tablet, you can do that and so much more. Tablets, you can download several apps that can fulfill your needs from streaming services to gaming to meditation. Audiobooks are simply for listening purposes. Looking at the Porter 5 forces, we ranked our rivals' industry profitability at a high. Companies like Apple and Samsung have developed brand recognition globally, and minor moves from them could cause companies to act and adjust. We also ranked our new entrants at a high impact on industry profitability because new companies have the ability to enter into new markets providing quality, affordable devices. This can impact the industry heavily if new entrants manage to build a strong brand love and support. We also ranked the buyers at a high industry profitability due to the fact that buyers have a major influence on how companies create their products. Consumers change their mind quickly, and the thing that they desire one day doesn't necessarily carry on to the next. If companies fail to keep up with buyers' needs, they will fail at keeping brand love. We rank the intensity of our suppliers at a medium impact on industry profitability. Although suppliers are an important part of how tablet and tech companies manufacture their products, many major organizations tend to have their own manufacturing companies or have entered into contracts with another to keeping the profit at a fixed cost rather than something that changes on a regular basis. We rank the intensity of our substitute at a medium impact on industry profitability. The overall power of our substitutes is medium because many of our substitutes have fully adapted to emerging markets and many of them have decreased in usage by a lot, looking at books. The reason we believe our substitutes overall power is medium is because companies like Barnes & Nobles are working hard to adapt to the growing marketing of digital reading and entertainment. It is something that it isn't something to completely worry about for products like the Amazon Kindle Fire, but something to be looking at for sure and not neglected, considering that with enough funding and support, any company could be like Amazon, Google, and Apple. Smartphones is another one of our substitutes, and it is important to recognize that year after year it has become more of the norm to access smartphones. Companies like Samsung have developed products that meet both tablet and smartphone needs. depending on how fast consumers start to desire their ebooks, social, and entertainment all in one. Companies like Amazon Kindle will need to adapt quickly to ensure that they can compete against competitors.
For the external factor evaluation within the tablet industry, we looked at the different opportunities and threats that impact these companies. For opportunities, we have e-commerce, remote learning, backward integration, and acquisition potential. E-commerce is an opportunity for tablet manufacturers because this is the number one way it is sold so far, and this will likely continue as e-commerce as a whole grows. Remote work and remote learning are side effects of the pandemic. They were not as prevalent as they are today, and this will definitely be a major driver for demand for tablets, as people who are working at home have they have more flexibility to where they can get the work done. If you're in an office, you might go in, you might sit at your desktop, and you might do your work there. But if you're working from home, you can sit on the couch, lounge with a tablet, and do your work there. So that's definitely an opportunity, and the pandemic has definitely presented that. Backward integration is another opportunity for manufacturers as it can lower their price point, and this is a very competitive industry, so having a low price will definitely help. Acquisition potential is another opportunity for manufacturers, as if they acquire or are acquired by a company within the supply chain, it will reduce the cost and increase synergy, and that will cause for a more competitive tablet ultimately. Some of the threats that exist to tablet manufacturers are that buyers have a lot of power. So due to this, people have to sell their tablets at a certain price point and with a certain level of quality that satisfies the picky buyers within the industry today. There's a lot of rivals. Some of the best tech companies around the world are competing in this space, trying to make money, and you're going to have to beat them if you want to dominate this industry. It's not an easy industry to enter into, as we'll talk about with new entrants, and there are a lot of substitutes as well. So it's not an easy industry to enter, as it's very expensive to do the R&D and get a tablet up to scale with production, and there's a lot of different substitutes made by some of the best tech companies in the world. So the buyers are spoiled. It's a very difficult industry to operate in, and on top of that, there is an increasing pressure from government regulation. Antitrust is the number one threat to large tech companies today, as the preferred method is now an international conglomerate that has their hand in every different little aspect of the supply chain, and because of this, they're becoming as powerful as governments. For example, you look at Amazon, and the governments are not going to be very happy with this, and they're going to try to maintain some sort of power, and as well as facing pressure from voters, there's likely going to be an increase in antitrust legislation within tablet manufacturers in the coming years. So getting into the internal analysis with Amazon, we're going to talk about their different strengths and weaknesses. So for strengths, they are first of all diversified across multiple industries. They have Amazon Web Service, they have brick and mortar retail, they have the e-commerce store. So no matter what, if one specific segment takes a hit, they're going to end up doing okay, and that's the way it was designed to be. Furthermore, they are diversified across multiple different countries. This allows them to be resilient against economic pullbacks. If, for example, England is in a recession, but the US is fine, Asia's fine, Amazon's fine. Furthermore, they are very well vertically integrated, so this allows them to do things such as 1 and 2 day delivery, and it allows them to have the price points that they have on certain products. They have a very strong IP and patent portfolio. This allows them to keep the innovation churning and allows them to continue to build up these different businesses and make sure that no one's going to rip off what they have paid good money for. They have the cash on hand to acquire different companies if they're a target, and also to further invest in the companies they've already acquired. They have a very long, bleh, very strong supply chain and very strong supply chain management overall. To that note, they have a excellent team that is managing the logistics and as well managing the day-to-day, and they also have a very strong executive team which is looking 20 years down the line. They've had fantastic acquisitions to date, which has put them in a position to outperform perhaps any company in the world. Their businesses complement each other very well. There's a lot of synergy that exists within them. For example, they recently invested in EVs with Rivian, electric vehicle manufacturer in Detroit, and they're going to have autonomous EVs delivering for their e-commerce business. They're in growing industries, for example, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. They're in industries that are poised to grow not only in the next year, 2 years, but 10, 20 years. They're a long-term player, and that's the way they position their chessboard. They have a stronghold on e-commerce. I mean, no one in the States is competing with them. Alibaba maybe in China you can make a case for in e-commerce, but in my opinion at least, they are the strongest e-commerce company in the world. They are in the majority of mutual funds and ETFs, so they have a large reputation, very strong reputation within banks and capital markets, so they can get all the money they need if they somehow run out of all the cash they have on hand. And on top of that, to further that point, they have a strong buy from every analyst on the street. So every analyst is bullish on them. They have all the resources they need at their fingertips, and yeah, a lot of strength. So getting on to the weaknesses for the internal analysis, first of all, we have the currency exchange risk. So when you're operating in many different countries and nations, you have a currency exchange risk because when you convert the money back to your currency of choice, you may lose some due to different fluctuations with interest rates. Furthermore, you have a regulatory risk for Amazon, as this is probably the number one threat to Amazon as an entity, is that they might face an antitrust case. If Amazon is split up, they still would succeed in many of their different new entities, but it would definitely hurt them as vertical integration and synergy is one of their number one assets. Another weakness that they may face is being overextended. They operate in a lot of different industries and have a lot of different business segments, but some may see this as a weakness. It may take away from their main business and they might overextend themselves financially and go into debt. So this could be a risk. Furthermore, it's expensive to maintain Amazon's model, at least in the e-commerce space, as customers have become expected to 1 or 2 day deliveries, and this has very expensive storage costs for inventory, very expensive transportation costs, and furthermore, they're risking their reputation by promising delivery times, and if they don't deliver, then they may disappoint customers and may lose them to competitors. Another weakness is that acquisitions may not pan out. They've invested heavily in different startups in different industries, and if these startups fail to pan out long term, they could be behind competitors who invested more frugally and had a better return. They are also liable for negligence of third-party sellers. Amazon could face lawsuits from different cases of illegal narcotics, for example, being distributed on Amazon, or different, I remember there was like a child trafficking thing with Amazon. There's different things that sellers will do since they do trust third-party sellers, and this could backfire long term. Another weakness is that Bezos has stepped down recently, and the new management team is not unproven, but not revered the way Bezos was, so we will have to see if they can live up to the previous expectations that have been set. There is always a data and security breach risk when you are a company that has a lot of personal information on people, and Amazon is not excluded from that category, so that's definitely a risk for them. There is a susceptibility to macro trends as they do exist heavily in retail and e-commerce, and that's discretionary in nature. So if there is an economic downturn, that will be one of the first things to slow down. They exist in heavily contested industries. We were talking earlier about the tablet industry and how competitive that is. That's just one example. They're also in cloud computing, which is heavily disputed, and I mean, they're doing very well due to their size and pricing power, but these are some of the most competitive industries in the world, so we'll see if they can maintain their position. They have an unfavorable ESG score. There have been lots of different complaints about the way they treat their employees, their emissions from their vehicles, and that could definitely hurt them, as that may fuel voters to pressure legislators to put that antitrust case we were talking about earlier into motion.